Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Anvil Podcast, recorded on March 7th, 2015. I'm Wadabuzi Matt, and we have the rest of the people here.
I'm the Double Ginger.
And I'm AC, Buildcraft developer, today's guest.
Yep.
Right,
Okay.
so, AC, why don't you tell us what it is with Buildcraft and what you do?
Well, with Buildcraft, I'm the maintainer. Essentially, what happened is that Buildcraft lost its development team over time due to various dramas and things, and in the middle of 2014, Space Suit was the only one left, and then real life kicked in, and he had to leave.
Yeah.
But I catched him on IRC in mid-September, and as I was the only person who had enough free time on his hands and already contributed to BC with the Redstone Flux move, I was essentially allowed by Space Toad to become the new maintainer. And after about a month, once he finally left, I got full permissions to do everything Buildcraft pretty much.
All right.
So, how long have you been developing mods?
I've been developing mods since late 2013 publicly, but I made a few small mods for private servers before that. So I've essentially been modding since Minecraft 1.5.2, but with one private mod in Minecraft 1.4.7.
Matt?
Yeah.
What? Yeah. Okay.
What's wrong?
Huh? Oh no, we're just like
Nothing.
Okay, it's fine. It's fine.
It's
Let's
still a bit
go
new to
on.
the whole podcast streaming thing.
I was just giving Matt a chance to...
Yes, and I'm also new because I've never been on a podcast. So yeah, let's go with it.
There's an hour that we've got to fill with talking. Should be fun.
Don't worry. Don't worry. Don't worry. Don't worry. Just worry if I cause any drama by accident. You know I have a habit of doing that.
That's okay.
Okay, let's go.
I have the Buildcraft update thing up on the screen right now. For everybody to see.
Right.
look
So
at.
build 6.2, I assume.
Yep.
Yeah, that's one of the final 6.4 versions. We've essentially sat down and fixed a lot of the remaining bugs and tried to clean up the issues tree so you can have a reasonably stable release as we work on some things we've always wanted to as part of Buildcraft 7.
Yeah. Well, I know that you aren't a particular fan of 1.8 mods.
Yes, I'm a huge fan of 1.8 mods because, Buildcraft is actually the only tech mod which has a mostly working 1.8 version.
Yeah.
The problem is, it's mostly working, so for instance, pipes don't render, but that's not a huge issue. And I don't really believe 1.8 is a good version. Mojang is in the middle of a massive refactor. They are moving all their previously code-based rendering to a JSON format, and they're trying to flesh out the model system as they run into issues. And I think, personally, we should give Mojang a bit more time, maybe 1.9, maybe 1.10, so they can finish their job and do it right. And then we can just essentially rewrite our mods for the new version. Because, let me finish. Oh, sorry. When we look at mod developers and mod pack makers, mod developers primarily move to 1.8 because they're pressured to buy their users. But users usually use mod packs, and mod packs only update to the new version because they're pressured by the mods which update. So staying on one stable version, as 1.7.10 works reasonably well, if not for some lag issues which Player and Skyboy have been slowly fixing in their core mods, is a pretty good version.
So why don't you tell us what the ideas that came into 1.6 and what you added?
Came into 1.6?
Sorry, 6.
6.4,
Buildcraft.
Buildcraft 6.
Yeah.
Buildcraft 6, right. So, 6.0 and 6.1 were Space Toads, essentially. I didn't do much in them. And Space Toad brought back the Builder, which was silly. We've had a mod about building that didn't have builders for 2 years. That caused quite a bit of drama, though, because Covert has been working on his own Builder implementation for quite a while. And Space Toad essentially removed all the code and made his own, which made Covert Jaguar pretty mad, and he quit. Then we've also got advanced facades, which let our facades controlled by a pipe wire signal. And those are pretty much most of the features of Buildcraft 6.0. But 6.1 brought robots, And robots are those little things which do specific tasks that you can command with Buildcraft gates.
Mhm.
However, there were many issues with them because Space Toad left in the middle of developing them, and when I got in, I had no idea how the code works. So they were essentially a buggy mess we told everyone not to touch as I worked on bug fixing Buildcraft. I called my friends, the Star Chasers, who run their own private Minecraft server. I called them because they're very good at finding bugs in mods, and with their help, in 2 months, I fixed about 100 big issues in Buildcraft. Changing its reputation from a fairly buggy and unstable mod to a fairly stable mod over time.
When
Uh,
you said you took over the development after Space Toad left.
yes, that was in mid-October.
Yeah.
And
And then he decided to come back, didn't he?
Space Toad, he said that he will come back in January this year, but it's February and
Yeah.
March even, and so yes, Space Toad came. Yes, Booger Bomb. Space Toad, it came back in early 2014. I'm not sure why. I personally think it's because Buildcraft hasn't really been getting a lot of updates at that time, and maybe Space Toad just wanted to fix the builders again, or maybe he got a new interest in Minecraft modding. And then he quit in mid-October, mainly because his life got very busy at that moment. And to be honest, he's good at keeping his anonymity. I don't have any contact with him outside of the Minecraft-specific one, so I have no idea where he is.
Do you think that when Space Toad comes back, he will be in charge and lead the Buildcraft development, or do you think he will leave that to the people who stayed?
Well, person who stayed, because I'm the only official developer now, but Raven helps a lot with the robots. He fixed most of the major bugs in them, which made them pretty usable in 6.4. What I think will happen is that, like we planned to before he quit, because we've had some plans, we're essentially going to cooperate on the Buildcraft development together. Like we're going to be handling the parts that we believe are the most important, like Space Toad believes in the robots, builders, and the urbanist, while I prefer engineering, the pipe system, gates, so we'll just get a split of responsibilities. But that's assuming if he comes back, because this is not the first time he quit, and the first time he quit for almost 2 years.
Yeah.
So, coming back to Buildcraft's changes over time, I added quite a few features, most notably. The first ones were the gate copier, which finally became an official thing in Buildcraft. Clay insertion pipes, which were taken from additional Buildcraft objects, and diamond and emerald liquid pipes for sorting and filtering, which also were taken from ABO. They essentially became a part of Buildcraft now, because I believe they fit in very well. I also did a lot of those bug fixes, and I fixed a lot of issues with the builder. Essentially, my goal was to add some minor features which fit in, like stained glass pipes. I really like those. And just improve the code base in general, focus on mod compatibility, convincing mods to support Buildcraft APIs, and in general letting Buildcraft be slowly reborn. But this 6.x branch has been minor changes, while some of the bigger changes will come with Buildcraft 7.
All right, so unless there's anything else you want to talk about, AC, we should talk about regular topics now. And
I think we should after this introduction, we should discuss regular topics, and then maybe we'll get back to Buildcraft if there's time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So our first mod to talk about is Biota.
Biota by Dinius.
Yes.
Yes, I'm looking at it right now. It's quite the interesting mod, because we've never really had a mod which actually tried to change the food system a lot. We've had Hunger Overhaul and Spice of Life, but those weren't really taken with much liking.
Yeah, no.
And there were many food mods, but as 4chan regulars say, they're essentially recolored wheat most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And Biota shows a chance at an actual new planting system.
I find mods like Biota especially interesting because things like the big mods like Thermal Expansion and Buildcraft, they add new things to the game, whereas mods like Biota just build upon it and what's already in it.
Yes, because if you have a big mod which is used in a variety of contexts, you cannot really modify vanilla too much.
Yeah.
Essentially because everyone wants to play a different game, and thus I believe there should be a clear split between mods which modify vanilla and mods which add to vanilla. So
Yeah.
Biota is exciting. It's another thing that challenges vanilla construct we've been used to. And I like those mods, especially as I'm slowly working on my own pack, so I keep an eye on those.
I don't think this will be. I think it may be included in some packs, like regrowth. Maybe that's one of the.
Yes, but isn't
packs.
that what many mods essentially get as their fate? Very few mods become the ultimate mod pack mods.
Yeah.
And even then, most of them get deprecated and replaced over time as newer, better, more innovative competitors come around. Some
Yeah.
mods choose to improve themselves continually, but some also choose to keep true to their fan base, and that sometimes causes other users who want something new to leave them.
Of course, we did see that happen to Industrial Craft 2 after Thermal Expansion came in. With
IC2, also Buildcraft was
system.
replaced by TE item dogs, but with IC2 that didn't really change it. The problem
think-
is in about 147 we've had like two IC2 user factions. We've had the people who use IC2 as a technology mod, and they just want their macerators, their compressors. And we've had the people who use IC2 as a GregTech library, because GregTech was starting to be less of a machine add-on and more of an IC2 changer.
Yeah.
Player making IC2 experimental, he essentially decided that he himself is more fond of becoming like a lighter version of GregTech, because that's how I see the changes to IC2. They make recipes more complex and add more machinery, and that alienates the casual IC2 players who were the majority.
Yeah.
And what they liked was, especially in Thermal Expansion 4, provided by that mod, and that's why they moved.
Yeah. Well, obviously, when thermal expansion and thermal dynamics and stuff tried to replace Buildcraft, you and Space Toad people managed to keep it afloat by adding plenty of new stuff. But IC2
the death was close. If you remember late 164, Buildcraft was essentially declared a dead mod by then, and many mod pack makers started declaring that they will not include Buildcraft or MJ mods.
But then you did add a lot of stuff that managed to keep it afloat, whereas IC2 didn't really try.
IC2 is different because the developers are always the owners of the mod, and IC2 essentially wanted to move to a certain part of its fan base. Because, Buildcraft could really easily become a popular mod. We could rewrite the pipe system to be smarter, or add easier machines to combat the Ender Quarry and Ender Thermic Pump, but that's not what we want to do. We want to stay core to the principles of Buildcraft as to work together with the people who come to us. We don't need to come to players, because Buildcraft is made for the love of the craft, and if we are the popular mod, that's fine. If we are not, that's fine. We have our own little player base, and we work together because we love the mod.
It does appear that you're very passionate about Buildcraft and the community.
Yes, actually, Buildcraft is the sole reason I stayed multiple times when I had doubts about whether to stay in Minecraft modding. And Booger Bomb asks, most players just want an easy block to craft and plop down. They don't want a complex design and think it out mod like BC, so they go AE1 block solutions. Now, Buildcraft and Applied Energistics, in my opinion, are both simple mods. The problem is there's a varying definitions of simple. Mods like Applied Energistics believe in what I call absolute simplicity, or simplicity by complexity. Think, for instance, how many of Apple's hardware works. Essentially, the internals of Applied Energistics are very complex. The code is a masterpiece in many places. It's very beautifully crafted to make sure that it works with the grid system, the intelligent routing. But what the user sees is something simple. Now, this works when you want to have something user-friendly. So on the surface, everything is very simple. But if you start to dig deeper down, you realize that the things that the system withholds from you essentially become unachievable. So some things become impossible to do simply because you don't have access to those low-level parts of how the mod works.
Yeah.
Now, Buildcraft is the opposite. It believes in complexity by simplicity. So the core of Buildcraft is simple. The pipe system is what some people would call dumb, as in it doesn't have smart routing. Each pipe is only available on what next to it.
Mm-hmm.
And the quarry, which essentially digs layers of blocks down, those aren't hard codes. The difference is those are simple rules, and you can actually write down the exact behavior of the Buildcraft pipe and imagine it easily because it doesn't do any magic tricks behind you. It's all pretty simple.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like Lego. If you're aware of the simple rules of interconnecting Buildcraft stuff, you can build pretty much anything.
Kind of like Redstone, actually, because Redstone's quite a simple idea, and then there's so much you can do with it.
Yes, exactly. However, with Redstone, yes, Redstone is really cool and nice, but if you're thinking about automating things, Redstone has the main disadvantage of taking up a lot of space when you're building things.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
There's no concept of a micro block or a small gate, so
there's a lot of things about Minecraft in itself on its own without mods, like vanilla. It can be a very complex game in some ways, even
yes,
though
of course.
the surface just looks tiny.
But let's make one thing straight. Minecraft is great because everyone can make their own way of playing the game, especially with mods. And despite many people claiming that mod X or mod I is dead or deprecated or terrible or shouldn't even exist, everyone can play the game in a different way, and that's what's beautiful about Minecraft. We don't really, while there are moments at which we have samey packs, once in a while a truly innovative pack arrives that pushes the mod ecosystem to its limits.
I think if you already have that level of complexity hidden behind simplicity, once you start building upon that, you just get even more of that, but with
Of course, but that's better for some people. Some people prefer to not worry about little details. It's the just works mentality that made, for instance, Apple products so popular among some groups. Because if you don't dig into the internals, your average iPhone or iPad will just work. But the moment you try to do something complex, you'll realize that so much is hidden away from you. And things will start breaking, and you'll start to see gaping holes in the construction. Those are two different ways of going about the same thing. And I'm not saying that one of them is better. I know many people who love playing Buildcraft alongside AE, and the mods actually run nice together.
There are some mods that you can do a lot more with, but that a lot more you can do with it isn't nearly as much as something you can do a lot less with, but it has
Yes, it's like
more complexity to it.
Yes, it's like often, yes, it's just different ways of playing. Some people prefer for it to just work, and some people like to tinker to eventually get a better design, even if it takes time to arrive to. It's about what motivates and what satisfies each type of player. One player is satisfied by engineering a cool build, and another player is satisfied if they have 10,000 diamonds in their storage system.
Yeah.
And with Buildcraft, we decided to appeal to essentially a specific group, a specific type of player. We didn't decide to cave in, and we didn't decide to redesign Buildcraft because the design is good. It's just not for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I do think it is good to not just cave in and to try to keep to like what you intended for the mod to be. Because if you do cave in, it could become something you don't end up liking, which is obviously bad as a mod developer to not like your own mod.
Also, why try to be like another mod if in the era where a lot of mods are open source, you could just join them.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I like AE is open source, I could easily contribute to them. So is Buildcraft, in fact, and we've been getting quite a few contributions over time, though it's a lot less than we've had when Buildcraft was at its top.
Yeah, I remember when Buildcraft was on, it was, definitely one of the main mods where if, you didn't have Buildcraft and, when you were playing modded Minecraft, it was, you were insane. Because almost everyone had Buildcraft.
Nowadays, more and more packs are starting to have Buildcraft again, but I'm in no rush.
There was a drop-off in, 1.5, 1.6, but it seems...
Yes, but that's primarily because of the Buildcraft team's decisions.
I agree.
Even Cover Jaguar himself admitted on Reddit that forcing the energy loss in the API was a terrible mistake and the pipes should have been doing that instead. Because it's that thing which prompted Aiden to remove Buildcraft support from Mechanism, and that single change was what created Redstone Flux. So I believe that Buildcraft drop-off was essentially caused by the development team doing things that they thought were right, and many of those were right and would lead to better gameplay, but at the cost of freedom. And my philosophy with Buildcraft is to allow complete freedom. That's why you have so many more APIs in the mod. That's why you have the compat mod, which makes it work with other mods.
Yeah.
And that's why we don't get mad when someone uses our toys in a different way.
So, do you want to talk about the next mod on our list?
Of course. Let's go. I see it's a Thaumcraft add-on.
Yes.
Now, I'm actually a person who, mainly out of principle and a taste, doesn't actually play with magic mods, so I cannot say a lot about it.
I'm actually I'm the opposite to that. I'm like full on magic, and then occasionally I'll do like a tech for a playthrough, but it's kind of fun because it's like when I do the tech stuff, there's so much new for me to experience since I do a lot of the magic. So they both end up being equally fun. It's just I think I get a little bit bored of some of the tech mods after a little while, so I end up like go back to the magic.
Yeah, because the tech mods have become very samey.
Speaking of that, I do think it's quite strange that there are two completely separate. Like, there's this one game, Minecraft, and there's this one community, the modding community, but somehow they managed to make it so that it was split into like two different tech and magic, and it's like
yes, and they're all governed by different rules. Like, remember when Feed the Beast declared that they will only use the Redstone Flux energy system in their mod packs? It was in early 2014, but magic mods, each one of them has its own energy system with its own rules, and it's essentially an energy system.
Mm-hmm. So I think Matt, did you add this to the list?
Which one? This switching mod?
Yeah.
Switching gadgets.
No, I think it was you.
Okay, I saw it.
You added most of the mods this week.
I'm not entirely sure what it does.
To be honest, Buildcraft is also trying to be more creative. The problem is we don't really have much in the form of ideas because Buildcraft often feels complete to us. Like, there's not much more we can add to it. Because we find it hard to run into something that cannot be done with Buildcraft currently. The main things are improving what's there, so we're going to add new robots for automating new things, new stripes pipe handlers for supporting more things with the stripes pipe, etc. But there's the Urbanist, which never got finished, but I don't think I'm ready to finish it. It was essentially supposed to be the Buildcraft endgame. The Urbanist. It essentially added this block, you place it called the Urbanist, and you connect like a few dozen robots to it, and you get this Sims-like view of the world. So like you can scroll around the map in a 3D view, then you can mark areas, enter robots to build a blueprint there, or to dig out this area, or to bake a filler pattern. It was essentially a command and control box. The problem with that is that not only is it ridiculously buggy and hacky, because, it essentially gives you a whole new view of the world, it's also something I don't really feel like I'm ready to work on. It's not my area of expertise or interest. I'm not saying it won't be added, but for now it's on the back burner. Maybe when Space Toad comes back, it'll get finished.
That does sound like an interesting idea, though, if it does get added, because it is quite different from, there's like, I can't really think of too many things that are similar to that, kind of like a top-down view, you control different minions of yours, robots.
Yes, Booger Bomb is asking, is there any way to make it easier to upgrade pipes to the next tier? Not really, because we never really wanted to make the pipes hard to craft. Even the crafting is simple, it's like 2 of a material and a glass, and it's always a pipe.
Yeah.
And
I do like that crafting consistency there with just different materials.
Yes, and
I find not a lot of mods have that, but it's nice. It's certainly nice when it is just a straight upgrade, but some mods
many of the Buildcraft things, especially in the item zone, you don't really have straight upgrades. There's cobblestone, sandstone, and quartz, which have lower drag, so you can keep a sped up item sped up for longer. But once you go past that, every item pipe is completely different and has new things. Yeah. But I didn't really plan to add an upgrade system because I don't really feel the need for it.
Yeah, they are quite simple to craft.
Yes, and you can always keep the old ones around for another build.
Alright, so do you want to talk about our next modern alchemy?
We haven't exactly talked much about atomic, their witching gadgets. As far as I can tell, it just, it adds kind of what it sounds like. It's just a bunch of new gadgets and stuff to Thaumcraft. First thing here is let's see, is a cobblestone generator, but with magic, because, I don't know, just decided to do that. It's not really very interesting, honestly.
Well, if there's something you want to play with only.
Yeah.
Yeah,
do that.
what I want, well, let's get to the next point, because about add-ons, I'll have a nice talk about add-ons, but that will be later.
I should get a modern alchemy then.
So, yes, let's just go on to whatever you have planned next.
Alright, here, so we got modern alchemy here is the next thing on the list.
Yes. Modern alchemy.
Now,
Yes.
you were the one that suggested this, AC, so...
Yes, I'm going to have to link it on Twitch because, as you know, I'm working on 2 computers at the same time. So I have to post it from my laptop, which isn't on Skype. There it is. There's the link on Twitch. And what it is they're essentially making like, do you know matter from IC2?
Mm-hmm.
It's essentially adding a way to make blocks and items out of other items and replicating blocks, but in an innovative way. So you have things like Tesla coils, multi-block structures. And to be honest, I haven't really figured out how this works yet, but it adds a replicator multi-block, an arc furnace.
It's pretty crazy looking. Well, I have the
Yes.
screenshot up on the screen. Well, it'll be up on the... Oh, there it goes. So, yeah.
Yes, the amalgator is used then the replication process. I'm trying to get information about it. Sadly, there's no real finished documentation yet, so I can't say much, but I suspect this will essentially let you replicate existing items using a lot of energy and other items. But
Yeah.
it's a fresh take on the idea and a fresh tech mod, which we don't have many of, so that's nice. That's always
Very
appreciated.
complicated. They're not necessarily complicated. It looks. I quite like the models and stuff. There's like electricity shooting into things from the Tesla coils. It looks
Yes,
like-
and
looks
you
really
can
nice.
actually get burned by the electricity unless you wear special Faraday armor.
Kind of reminds me of like the hazmat suits and stuff in some mods, protect you from like radiation.
Yes, but this protects you from
Yeah,
electricity, because it could get burned. And if you don't wear this armor, you'll take damage and be lit on fire, so watch out. Okay, I guess we cannot say a lot of modern alchemy, it's still an alpha, so let's get to the next list, the item on the list.
Right, we got a bunch of individual mod changes here.
Oh yes, the famous rebalancing.
Yes.
So for a change, Botania actually got buffed
Yes.
and not nerfed. Can you
Finally.
believe it? Impossible. Absolutely
Apart from the Ender
impossible.
Flame. Everybody hates the Ender Flame.
Yes.
No change.
Yes.
Oh my god, I hadn't read these up until now. The Munch 2 got...
Yes, the
9%.
Nightshade is essentially equal to the Daybloom now. And almost everything else is now highly upgraded, so that making other flowers, higher end ones, actually makes sense now. I guess that's a nice change. I appreciate it.
I think this will finally... Britannia did need some balance changes for quite a while.
Yes.
But
Yes, so that's
I
exciting.
think
We'll
they are
see.
changes for the better.
So I've been talking to some mod pack makers, and there are already some slight issues with certain flowers again, but you know that rebalancing is never perfect.
Yeah, that's always going to happen when somebody rebalances. It's never going to be something that will be easy for everyone.
Right, I'll be back in a moment. Please get on to the next thing.
Alright, we got some
Well,
stuff.
again, I'd just like to finish off that. Modding can never be balanced. There'll always be something that's wrong, but you can do your best, I guess,
Alright, quickly. While he's gone, let's talk bad about him.
and play. That Bill
Hello.
Craft.
Oh, wait,
what have
there's
you been talking about? What have you been talking about me?
We
Huh?
weren't
What?
talking about you.
It didn't happen.
Of
Nope.
course not. I believe you. So, Thermal Smeltery has new machines.
Oh yes, I am
And
a fan.
Thermal Smeltery is very interesting as one of my main reasons for not including Tcon in packs, or rather the whole of Tcon, was that the Smeltery conflicted with a tech-based mod pack idea. And now with the Thermal Smeltery, you can have the best of both worlds.
I swear every day I fall more and more in love with this mod. It's so cool.
Yes, I love it too.
I always hated smelteries. Well, not hated.
I never hated
guess.
Smelteries, but they just don't fit in every context. But they're a nice example.
I love Tcon, but in order to have an end game Tcon setup, you have to have a large smeltery, and that just takes up too much room.
And about that, Thermal Tanker's Construct has an example of what I believe is a very well-designed multi-block. Something I have seen in Fortune regulars say is the quote, "Am I a multi-block yet?" Which is essentially used in reference to Railcraft and I think sometimes Quacktech. Because those mods essentially change everything into multi-blocks, but they don't really have any reason to be multi-blocks. And that's what bothers me the most about multi-blocks. If you don't have a reason to be a multi-block, why are you a multi-block? If you have an area of 50 blocks and not one, do something with it.
Yeah.
That's why, for instance, I rejected the multi-block refinery project for Buildcraft. It's now in Buildcraft Editions instead. Okay, next up, I see we have some armor in Botania.
I'm kind of excited about this.
It looks very unique.
I think it looks much nicer than the current Botania textures for armor.
Yes. Well, one thing that bothers me about this texture is that I am very much about having those low-res, pixelated, voxelated kind of designs. That's, for instance, why Buildcraft is blocky everywhere.
Yeah, there are.
This is still in my tolerance zone for blockiness, but you can tell those little flaps, they have a bit too much detail for my taste.
I'm okay with different textures, and high-res textures, but it annoys me when they don't fit with the general aesthetic of the rest of the game.
Don't worry, I'm going to change the Buildcraft textures one day, I promise. Okay, next we have Drolkus again, because we've already talked about Buildcraft. And Chisel 2 is adding new blocks again.
Yes.
Over and over and over. And with Chisel 2, sometimes I feel like they're adding too many new blocks. But at least they have config options for all of them.
Well, I mean, in a block mod, can you really want too many blocks?
Resident Rise 3 actually ran out of block IDs 2 weeks ago.
Ha!
Oh my god.
They had to change their mod pack a bit. I think they replaced a few mods that use versions that use less block IDs. Because they actually used up all 4096 block IDs. If I heard correctly, it was mainly because of Biomes Plenty.
Yeah.
And they removed that and replaced it with Realistic World Gen.
Oh, so they're replacing it? Alright.
Okay. So...
Alright, new chisel blocks, there's nothing new, it's chisel. I mean...
Yes, it's just chisel being chisel. It's like saying Buildcraft is adding a new pipe. Which it actually did a few times in the last few months.
Right, so next we've got X Nihilo finally being updated again.
Yes, Ex Nihilo. It's really good because it's been the staple Skyblock mod and many people love it.
I think this will finally...
I've never been a huge Skyblock player, but that's nice, and I really want add a way for Ex Nihilo stuff to be automated with Buildcraft.
I was a fan of AG Skies. That's the only one I've played though.
I like Agrarian Skies more than some of the other challenge mod packs, because a lot of the other ones are a lot more hardcore than Agrarian Skies is.
Agrarian Skies
gets some criticism, but everyone likes different things.
It very much lets you do your own thing. It really doesn't care if you don't want to do the quests. Whereas,
well, I've been working on my own pack for a while, but at this rate, it will never see a release because I've been working on it for 3 months. And I'm still tweaking it all the time in my free time. So it's going to come eventually.
We'll have to cover that when it comes out.
What?
We'll have to cover it then. on the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could talk about it later, but let's finish the regular topics first.
Yes. We've only got a few things left. We seem to have powered through these.
Yes, well,
So-
we've got a build. We've got Iron Man.
Yeah, I thought this was interesting because it's not exactly a build in the traditional sense of like like getting a big block build and stuff, but rather it's a sort of armor
Yes.
build.
I was actually using Armorer's Workshop back when it was a semi-private mod made for by the modding server centered about Copy Girl and Co. Because that's where it originally began. Risky Ken made it for there, and they've played with it, and then I found it on his GitHub, and I started making builds for my own packs.
We
And then, like many things which I wanted to add first, they got around and got released publicly before I got the chance to.
we covered this mod last week, and to be completely honest, I thought just another armor mod. I mean, there's a lot of mods that add armor. This really doesn't make a difference. But seeing this,
Yes,
definitely
it
looks
lets you
very
make
fun.
arbitrary 3D models. Like the default set comes with a few cosplays actually of anime characters, most notably Kaname Madoka from Puella Magi and I believe Sakura from Cardcaptor Sakura, I believe. And those are actually 3D models, with skirts and 3D
Yeah.
things on cat ears and stuff, or witch hats. They can get really intricate, and the best part is you can actually build them in the game. No need for a special editor.
Matt, we should put that in our server.
Armor's Workshop.
It
Yeah.
might end badly.
Why is it buggy?
No, mainly because because people might start making weird costumes.
We
But
only
it's
have
a very fun mod. It's something I've always wanted. I've been making many roleplay servers, and they've always begged for something to do cosplay with.
we get a private server though, so I think it should be good.
Yeah. Okay. And so we get the last bit of news, which
Hold
will
on.
especially
Pillowkeeper.
excite. Okay.
Pillowkeeper, could you use Taboola to make these models? I think they're mostly in game, aren't they?
I believe, I'm not sure, but I think they're stored in either NBT tags or a separate file. But either case, you could probably use Mindtweaker to make recipes for these, as those are just NBT
Oh, yeah,
tag
maybe.
versions of the same block. So, oh, hello, Warlord Jones. Oh, Warlord Jones.
Yes. Hello.
Okay, Misc news.
We've
ADOBS.
got-
It's talking about
ADOBS.
something that should really interest me, as I'm a huge fan of Minecraft 1.8.
Yes, he wants to know if anyone wants to maintain Biomes of Plenty to 1.8, because
Yes, it's kind of funny because
According to
Minecraft
him-
Plenty was actually one of the first mods which claimed to be on 1.8 before Forge even got released.
yes, it's
And now you can see how well that
quotes-
went.
it's not getting. Hold on, what's it saying? It's not really getting as much attention as it deserves.
It's not really getting. I think it means it's not really getting anywhere.
Yeah.
It's not really getting the attention it deserves as
Right.
of late because I've become increasingly busy. That's what he said.
Yes,
That's the
and they've actually been updating it, but the problem is, it's actually well, they've made a fresh branch, and well, nobody really cares for it because I mean, who's playing 1.8?
Yeah. They. I can't see any way to get around the issue of having mods updated and not updated for different.
Nova
versions.
was supposed to fix that, but that's another story.
What really kickstarted people modding for 1.7 was when
F1
AE2 was
Logistics
made
2,
for it.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
Yes.
the main reason I moved to 1.7.
Yeah.
But 1.8 doesn't have anything like that, and probably won't for quite a while. And even then, with 1.8, 1.7 was quite simple to port to comparatively. With 1.8, it'd be easier to backport that mod than forward port another.
Yeah.
And
I
the
mean-
main reason A2 never got out for 1.6 is only because A2 was closed source, really. If it was open source, I bet we'd be still playing 1.6.4.
Probably, actually. I think it just takes a lot of bravery from a mod dev to put their new version that they've developed for quite a while onto this new version that nobody's.
Well, 1.7 would be better if not for the fact that there are some issues with lag in the version. But those are minor compared to the issues in 1.8, really.
Because it was incredibly brave of Fireball to update A2 to 1.7, because he could have just put it on 1.6 and everyone would have played it on 1.6.
Algo X2, yes, it was brave. No, actually, Algo only did A2 because of 1.7. Essentially, the A1 code heavily relied on explicit block IDs, and those weren't really meant to be in 1.7. So he used the occasion that it would be difficult to port A1 to 1.6 to write A2.
Yeah. Well, it could have just been... If we hadn't have seen A2, we wouldn't be on 1.7 right now. It took a lot of bravery for certain modders to...
Yeah, well, I remember when A2 was coming out, I actually sat down and ported 12 mods to 1.7. In March. Like, I ported most of them business mods, I ported Artifice later, and I helped port Extra Biomes XL, and I also ported Chisel. And so my port of Chisel, I passed it on to Pokefan, and Pokefan passed it on to Cricket, and then Cricket is now maintaining it for everyone else.
Yes.
So Chisel had quite a long journey there. Oh, it appears we've run out of regular topics.
Cricket, of course, was our guest last week. It appears we seem to have powered through them. Also, there wasn't as much news this week as there was.
Yes, because everyone's on PAX, and the FTB PAX panel was really exciting. The list of what new things were announced is empty, but that doesn't matter. It was awesome.
Yeah. Next week, Warlord Jones is a Chisel contributor now.
Oh, that's cool. Good job, Warlord Jones.
Give yourself a pat on the back and a special stickers.
Go talk about my mod, pretty please, not at PAX. Yeah, I have a tradition. I post a picture of me working on Buildcraft with a figurine I have of an anime character, Shinonome every time there's a PAX. Just to show that I'm not at PAX, I'm developing a mod. I was thinking of going to Minecon, but I feel it would be a bad idea.
Well, I'm in the UK, so I actually have the possibility of doing that, because...
Maybe. I'm thinking about doing so, actually. I'd love it to actually run a panel on Buildcraft, because by then we might actually have a chance to release Buildcraft 7 around then. And that gets us to Buildcraft 7.
Well, yeah. Well, I was going to say, since we've run out of topics,
Buildcraft got new major version increases only 6 times so far. And it always had it for a grand and noble reason. Buildcraft 1 went to Buildcraft 2 after the MJ system was originally added. The energy pipes and all the engines. Buildcraft 3 happened when gates got added. Buildcraft 4 happened for... I don't think it was any particular reason at all, actually.
No?
I don't know why Buildcraft 3 went to 4. I'd need to check the change logs. However, then we've had Buildcraft 5, which increased because it went to 1.7 and Space Toad came back. Mm-hmm. And, oh yeah, Buildcraft went to 4.0.0 because it updated to 1.6.2 and it added the coloring system, I guess. And tons of refactors.
So...
then we've had Buildcraft 5 and Buildcraft 6, which restored builders and robots. And now I start to work on Buildcraft 7. So
what can you see meaning that you would update to 1.7? Would that be maybe 1.8 coming out? Or
of course not. We have a Minecraft 1.8 release, but it's on my Buildcraft 6.2.4, and I'm not planning to update it to any newer version anytime soon. If 1.8 actually becomes popular, I'll probably just rush to release that version and rewrite the port again, because the two code bases are now so different that we cannot easily port one to the other.
Yeah.
It'd be easier to actually port the mod to 1.8 again, copying some code over. Like, we've already got the models and rendering done, that solves most of the problem.
Well, when you talk about what you're hoping to add for Buildcraft 1.7. Buildcraft 7.
Buildcraft 7, Well, one thing I'm working on, and something that might excite a lot, is Buildcraft is finally modular again.
Oh, really?
Like, around Buildcraft 4, all the modules got integrated into one jar. But in
Yeah, I
Buildcraft
remember
7,
that.
I'm separating all of that again, optionally. So
What
by default,
what was behind the choice?
Um, user choice. A lot of my work of Buildcraft has been about giving users more choice and capabilities and letting them interact with other mods easier. And making Buildcraft modular is another step in that. For instance, let's say you only want the pipe system and not the builders, or you only want the builders and not the pipe system. Why should we stop you from doing that or require you to use Mindtweaker to disable 80% of the mod?
Yeah.
I do like that you're keeping it, like you said, yeah, it's optional if you have it modular, so I assume there's going to be like a full version as well.
Yes, by default it's a full version. Like you'll have a separate link that leads you to a zip file, and on the zip file you have all the modules as jar files.
That's clever.
Yeah, I like that because I think Red Power or Project Red, sorry, has the problem of being
Those
like modular.
those two did it primarily because more modules give you more AdFly money. Nobody, very few people actually use RP2 or Project Red in separate modules.
Well,
But that's true because if you mean it's 6 times the profit.
yeah. Well, I did see that as like it is. We were talking about this last week. It is a pain to click through all of the like ad
Yes,
flies.
Buildcraft doesn't get AdFly. We don't even really take donations apart from that one time where I made a Kickstarter parody thingy.
Well,
So essentially, Buildcraft's work on for was essentially free at this point.
Well, you have a Patreon, don't you?
No, I had to remove it because of the VATMOS changes in Europe. The thing which means that if someone from the EU donates to you, you have to make the taxes in the country the person who paid you is from. And that's complicated. Also, I really don't want to be dealing with taxes, not until I have a good idea of how it all works. And I don't want to evade the tax system, so that's why.
No, that's not a good idea.
Yes, so modularization is one thing. Another thing is we're doing some recipe changes, like we're going to make the chute cheaper. We're going to make robots use less energy because right now they use far too much. If you look at it, it takes like 2 minutes for one to work before it has to recharge and get another 100,000 RF. Of course, it means little on packs which have big reactors, but when you think about Buildcraft, it's quite a lot of energy, 100,000 RF.
So, what do you think people should be excited for in...
Well, one thing is modularity. The second thing is that I'm going to be making more Buildcraft add-ons myself. Because I run into this issue, I want to extend the Buildcraft ecosystem with new things, on one hand. But on another hand, I don't want to add them to Buildcraft itself, because Buildcraft's design scope is different. It has a specific set of things like pipes, automation, building, mining, and it only should do that, nothing else.
Yeah.
But I want to add more, like, let's say if I want to add a new storage system or some kind of more RP2-like computer system, that should never go into Buildcraft itself. But now that we have the module system, and Buildcraft Core is not just a Buildcraft library, it's a library any Buildcraft add-on can easily use to help itself, I'll actually be able to make proper Buildcraft add-ons.
Yeah.
And I want to do that. Like, I've always wanted to make my own computer mod that works more like Red Powers, like the low-tech kind of thingy. And it would be nice to integrate it, and it would be very nice to integrate it with the Gate API, as we have it now. And I want to look into that. Like, you could hook a monitor onto a pipe, and then you could code on that pipe to have it react on items passing through, or a program to control a robot. But that will be an add-on, and I want to focus on getting more add-ons out there, because we don't really have many.
No, that is...
Well, Buildcraft is a great thermal expansion add-on, as Vexatos tends to joke around. It's really funny, because now Buildcraft depends on the thermal expansion RF energy system, while thermal expansion used to be a Buildcraft add-on. It's amazing how things change sometimes.
I do like the idea of having, like, developer, like, official kind of developer-made add-ons to mods, so it's like things that they kind of want but don't really completely fit in the mod.
Yes, or don't fit at all, like the computers. I've always wanted, like, so you can place a monitor on a pipe. I think that would be really cool myself. Yes, and then you could program forth again. Or,
well, of course, there's always...
Yeah?
There's always the option of, like... Obviously, as you are the lead developer of Buildcraft now. I'm the
I
only
could
one.
add them to Buildcraft, but Buildcraft, as I said, it should only focus on automation and terraforming. And I think if something's not automation and not terraforming and doesn't fit with complexity by simplicity, it shouldn't be in Buildcraft itself.
That's an interesting point.
Yes, and yes, essentially, we're making Buildcraft keep to its core, but I can add new things in animals now because the module system actually works.
Yeah.
Another thing we've added is the debugger, which is mostly a great thing for us. It's a creative mode only item that essentially lets us debug pipes and robots on remote servers if we go there and an admin gives us the item. Which is really nice as debugging bug reports does get annoying after a while because you can bring a debugger to a server. And I admit the idea was inspired by COFH and their debugger because they have one.
Yeah.
Another thing that we're looking into is some experimental ideas I had, but I have little news on them now. What else? Oh, we're going to rework the assembly table to work better because it has a lot of quirks that don't really work out right. We are not sure how yet, but it definitely needs a rework. And of course, we're refactoring massive chunks of the code to clean it up and things like that. So working on Buildcraft lighter will definitely get nicer for us and everyone involved. Like so far, we've made it so that Buildcraft Core has an engines API, so you can make your own engine with the Buildcraft working and model easily, very easily compared to what you would normally do, and it will act exactly like a Buildcraft engine.
Yeah.
We want to add something like this for pipes in the future, like a proper pipe API, where if you have Buildcraft Core, you can just extend a few classes and make your own pipe, and Buildcraft will do the recipes and the stuff for you.
Huh, that sounds...
That's actually been planned for like over a year now, but nobody ever got around to it.
Kind of reminds me of the official Minecraft modding API.
It's totally gonna happen, guys. Don't worry.
Yeah,
It will
we'll release it. Don't worry.
No, look closely. If you look at the Minecraft internal code changes, they all lead towards the modding API.
Yeah.
The modding API is on the horizon, I tell you. But the horizon is an imaginary line. The further you get to it, the further it moves away from you.
Yeah.
I think we
All right.
discussed. I think I talked about last week the many things that will never come. Half-Life 3, the modding API.
Yes, I hope we'll be able to get Buildcraft 7 released before Psycraft. That would be very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yes, I completely forgot about that mod.
Yeah, some world just saying one way to encourage more ideas, they just need to get rid of more IDs like potions. Yes, that's all they're doing. They're getting rid of hard-coded block models, item models. 1.9 will remove the metadata limit and the entity models, and I think 1.10 is supposed to remove the GUI hard-coded thing, so you have like a GUI definition. And I believe that eventually modding will just abstract everything away, and then you will be able to add your own stuff on top. But it will never have the functionality of Forge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, I think we're about done. Is that it?
I think so.
No, we also still have 7 minutes left.
I mean, yeah, if we don't have anything to fill the 7 minutes.
Yes, we can. Don't worry.
Anyone in chat want to ask questions to Casey,
yes.
developer of Buildcraft?
Yes, feel free to ask questions to me. I'm or Buildcraft 7 or something. And I'm going to be reminding myself more things. I've had this experimental idea of letting you use lenses and filters on energy pipes. Like you could have colored energy channels with their separate energy buffers. Or just adjacent isn't a bad way to do it. It's just not a good way to do it. It's better than XML. Is there a difference between the lens-based coloring system, the glass-based, and the diesel coloring system? The glass-based coloring system, like stained glass pipes, is only for decoration and separating pipes, while the diesel and lazuli pipes actually color items.
Sorry, I've got to go for just a minute.
And lenses and filters also let you color items. And for me, I got a link for me. Nentify asks favorite anime, and Hidro probably, but I've gotten a strange liking to Forge, non Biori recently. I can't seem to. Oh, get rid of new blog post loops.
I'm trying to get this. Let's see. Stefan has this link here that doesn't seem to work quite right. It just takes you to the main Forge forums.
Yeah, I'm looking at some things.
Alright, I think it's safe to assume that George is dead.
Well, using clearance and price colonies, such things would be redundant, World of Jones, and we've actually been considering removing lapis and Disley pipes in Buildcraft 7. However, the lenses and filters require an assembly table to craft, and the Disley pipes actually work in a different way that some people would prefer. So we're not removing them just yet.
Nentify asked favorite anime.
I already answered Nikijo with a certain liking growing for non-Biori. But I think that answer was obvious. Also, a lot of things that are said in the topic Stefan linked me are actually correct on Lex's side. I actually spent a while researching the usage of objects in the Java virtual machine and how much they bog down the CPU. And it's not that big. It's not that big. The blog post change is not really that massive because Java can very quickly generate new objects, like very quickly. And it's a small performance decrease, but nothing gigantic. And I would say the code clarity is better, except it isn't. And that Buildcraft has had its own blog post like objects for years now, internally, because it just makes something so much easier. Yeah, and...
Sorry, I'm just looking at this topic.
Yeah, it's developer thingies. So, about what more do I want for Buildcraft? I want to essentially keep Buildcraft as an innovative mod rather than the runner-up or the failure. We're trying to innovate and we're trying to bring new ideas to the table, like the robot system, or the lenses and filters, or the pipe staining. We're trying to have fresh ideas on the table which can be used by people who aren't happy with what's presented by the status quo. And we know that this is not exactly the recipe for popularity, but of course it's debatable. I might even make like a mod which adds Buildcraft own or processing, because BCA is good, but I don't really think it fits with BC itself that well.
Mm-hmm.
Also, what I want to do for Buildcraft 7 is, with Buildcraft 7 we're working with Cyanide X to let the Unity retexture of Buildcraft finally come out. You know the Unity resource pack, right?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah.
Yes, and there's a Buildcraft version of it, but it can't come out because Buildcraft's texture system is too bad, so we're all going to change that as well. Also changing the config format, and we might also actually find someone to help us retexture Buildcraft, because the textures of Buildcraft are pretty bad compared to other mods. And
I think
while...
they've got a charm to them, to be honest.
What?
They're not necessarily bad.
Well, the machines mostly. The pipes aren't that bad, but the machines are terrible.
It has like an iconic to it. Like you see a machine, you see like a texture.
Yes, that's the problem. Cyanide X did a retexture, but it changed everything and didn't look like Buildcraft anymore. But what I want to do is take Buildcraft's existing drawings for the machinery and have them just be redesigned to look familiar yet different. As in look better, but still have the familiar constructs like the giant screen on the quarry or the characteristic black and yellow stripes on the builder and filler.
I think familiar yet different is actually a resource pack. Yeah, it is.
Yes, and that was really an international reference, but it's a thing. So yes, Buildcraft might get texture change, but we don't know when and with who. But we will let Cyanide make Unity work. Of course, if you have any ideas for Buildcraft, you're welcome to post them on the suggestions page on our forums. We actually pay attention to it sometimes. And we've run out of time. Thanks everyone.
This will be the end.
Everyone, this was a very good podcast. I loved it.
Sorry.
We've actually got 25 people.
Sorry, I just found it funny. What's this? Pillowkeeper asked, "Are we going to have another drawing competition again today?"
Oh yeah, the end of the last podcast, after we stopped recording, we had a small bonus session where we drew pictures of Pillowkeeper. George photoshopped.
Actually, you know what? You should do a drawing competition where we'll draw new Buildcraft textures.
You see, I was going to draw Warlord Jones. So,
draw a pipe.
Alright, here
draw
we
a
go.
builder.
Alright, everybody say their goodbyes. Official goodbyes for the stop recording.
Official goodbyes, and then we'll keep
official
going.
goodbyes.
See you. I love you guys.
Thank you for watching. Oh wait, should I subscribe, favorite?
You're awesome.
Subscribe to our Twitch
tweet us.
channel and follow us on YouTube.
And
yes,
tweet
and
us at Anvil Podcast and at
tweet us on Instagram
and watch more and play more Buildcraft.
Yeah.
You
You're
always
awesome.
play more Buildcraft.